So with our handsome Mr. Z, I wanted to dive into a little bit with the toy exchange game as well as the treat and retreat game. So for a lot of dogs, remember that we tend to be, no offense to us, the end of fun or the ones that come and take things from them. So what I mean by that is a lot of times puppies or even adolescent or adult dogs will grab items, and these are things we've deemed like not okay for dogs. And we're constantly saying, drop it, out, leave it. And it's good to have certain slogans so your babe knows what it means to do a certain action. But remember that for a lot of dogs, they find their world very intriguing and they like to try it out with their mouths, almost like a small human child in the beginning also tries to put everything into their mouth. So we either need to baby proof or bomb proof, for example, for puppy or even adult dogs, even though he's a teen right now, to make sure that our dogs are not rehearsing the skills we don't want them to get good at. So if you are just simply squealing in the background as your dog is running around with your slipper, your dog is maybe getting really good at grabbing for household items. It starts a really wonderful game with you. Even if you get agitated at the end when you finally catch the puppy, you may actually by mistake create, for example, keep away behaviors, so running away from you because you're chasing them, which starts off as a kind of haha game, but it can turn into you need to get them and they keep romping away when they're loose and it could be dangerous. There's also moments where if your dog grabs for something and you tend to always want to take it from them, I get that we don't want our dogs to eat the sandal or swallow the scrunchie or eat the acorn, but how we engage with the dogs or pups will make the behavior better or worse for even us and for them. So let's say, for example, your babe constantly thinks that when you come near, you're going to take the thing from them, which typically is pretty accurate. And when you say drop it means I'm coming to take it away, your babe might hear drop it and run the exact opposite direction with the said stolen item. And then as you go to grab for it, your babe could actually try to swallow it whole, or potentially it could lead to resource guarding. So there's a lot of sad and not very good information out there on the internet and from word of mouth and from even some particular trainers where they will say you have to teach your dog who's the boss by being able to take things from them and give them back when you want. Or for example, shove your hand in their food and take it away and give it back and play with the food and touch the dog while they're doing things. That's actually a really great way to create resource guarding in the first place, and a really good way to teach your dog that you are unpredictable and unsafe and that you are confrontational. So there are certain breeds that are more likely to do resource guarding because of their breed. There are some, because of life experiences or lack thereof, or methods used, will also lead to more behavioral trouble. So resource guarding is a completely normal dog behavior because it keeps a dog or another animal alive because they're able to keep a resource for themselves, be it food, shelter, bedding, whatever it might be. So if your dog, and I'm not saying this is what Zeke is doing, he could probably care less, but some of them do have a harder time with resource guarding. He's just chewing on some of my broken toys. He says they're very nice to break a little bit more. Ready? So yes. So I sometimes like to throw in my little kissy noise, which is what's called a positive interrupter. This is a little off topic. But let's say, for example, he's doing something, maybe I don't want him to potentially eat the string that he's kind of gnawing on, as opposed to squealing at him and scaring him or surprising him to try to teach him what's wrong. Remember that your dogs are amoral. So they don't know right or wrong. They don't know, for example, good versus bad. All they know is safe versus unsafe. So either the way we're engaging with them makes them feel more safe or less safe. So even though there's this concept of teaching your dog when they're wrong, the problem is it doesn't make sense to them. It just means sometimes you're safe and comfortable and other times we're spooky and scary. So this doesn't mean my dog does not have boundaries. I very much so, like a small human child, make sure there's boundaries for safety, but also for nurturing sort of sake as well. But I'm not going to be gruff or mean or agitated when I'm working with a small one, just like I would with a dog. So he has the capacity of a 2 to 3 year old human toddler. This does not mean that he has the same social norms as people do. So let's say, for example, back to having items he shouldn't have. If we chase and we grab and we take, we are teaching the dog that when you have something you find really cool, we are going to take it away, and it's going to be kind of a bummer. Some dogs then will start to be very unsure of when you come near, when they're eating, when they're drinking, when they're resting, because we have become the end of the good or the bringer of conflict. So let's say my dog is playing with toys he is supposed to be playing with. We would want to start these exercises with things they're supposed to have, so your babe learns that with the toys they are able to practice with, that letting go is not the end of the game, and it's non-confrontational and doesn't create sort of a scary moment. So let's say my dog is playing with one of these toys. I might then go, and let's say he was mid-play with the raccoon, for example. Ready? I might go and make another toy come alive and do the toy exchange. So he's either rotating between several of the toys. So letting go doesn't mean the game is over. Letting go didn't equal it was scary or confrontational. And this way, take it and drop it can equal just another fun skill that doesn't always equal I'm taking your thing away. So let's say he's playing with that toy. As opposed to going and prying it from his mouth, I'm going to go and show him a new friend. Ready? What do you think, mister? Ready? Come get it. Go get it, toy. So that way we can rotate. So I know you guys were mentioning he's been doing a really great job practicing some like fetching behaviors. Obviously, be careful with fetch. I'm not against it, but there are times where fetch can become a little bit more compulsive or OCD, but also too high intensity for a developing body and mind. Fetch can sometimes turn into, I keep doing fetch until the dog is like literally keeling over. Some dogs become very compulsive and they will play until literally they could call it quits and fall over. But remember that high intensity workouts where you're running and stopping and pivoting kind of quick, you could potentially cause damage or harm to the dog. This doesn't mean not to play with your dog, but there's ways that could include softer or less potential for injury type of play. So let's say he was playing with that one. We might go, ready? Oh, what's this one? Ready? We'll come get it. He says, I'm thinking about it. Go get ya, bad boy. He's like, lady, I like relaxing. So let's say Mr. Z's a little tired, no big deal. When you're practicing your toy exchange game, if your dog has already shown signs of resource guarding, and if you're not really sure, you can always reach out. There are going to be steps to do prior to going to this game. If your dog is a severe resource guarder where they will lash out when they feel really flustered and they've had maybe some other methods done to them, so they have a very little warning because warnings have been suppressed, we want to make sure that we're starting at a stepping stone that makes sense and will be good and safe for everybody involved. So if you're really dealing with some pretty good resource guarding, or you've had bites in the past, or there's been other issues, don't just, again, dive into something without checking in or getting a little bit of a game plan first. So let's say, for example, this is, for right now, a toy he's allowed to have, but let's pretend, for example, if he can practice letting go of things he can have, he can then learn to let go of things he shouldn't have. But if every time we tell him to drop something is when I'm going to take it away, that turns into, again, a negative association quite often. So let's say he's chewing on the rope. Maybe I want him to take a little pause. I might go, Zeke, ready? Find it. So what I like to do is typically go into a little find it. He says, hold up, it's still stuck in my mouth. So notice how I didn't rush and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's taking too long. Let me just pull it from his face. The problem with us is we tend to want an instant moment of connection or focus or check-in or response. Remember how long it took us to learn certain skills or abilities, and some of us are still working on stuff, which is normal. So learning is not, again, a sprint, it's a marathon. So it's something that we also will be doing for the rest of the dog's life. So just like with us, if we don't maintain certain things, they start to become less reliable or less able to happen. So with Mr. Z, getting him to go into a little find it is a much better way to get him to let go of the said item, even if it is something he's allowed to have, and then practice that moving away from your toys does not equal bad, actually it equaled a bonus bit. So we might find with Mr. Z, maybe he goes and he's playing with a toy and he likes to play tug. Then you could, for example, have two tuggies, or you go, ready, Zeke, drop, and feed for the let go. So now as he hears drop it versus take it, he could have like an on-off switch to kind of go into grabbing and releasing things on cue. So if he's not as fluid, we'd want to play, and then I'm going to go, ready? drop, yes. What I like to do is with my food is in the beginning, I might have it closer and maybe do find it. Eventually a hand above him is how I like to do it. There's another great option too, is if, for example, so let's say, for example, your pup has a really hard time letting go of things in general, or they don't quite know how to do it. I might go like this and show my hand, and then I'm going to feed him for that. So every time the hand is kind of up and above him, there's food coming. So this doesn't mean that 24/7 will I always have something on me. But in the beginning, I want him to think that there's value in pausing, checking in with the hand, and then getting a paycheck for checking in, because then this will turn into, let's say, for example, we're playing. He's like, yeah. He's like, hold up, I was chewing still. So let's say we might go and play because he's going to have some lazy play today. And let's say again, he's going to go and he's grab it, you wild man. There we go. So let's say he's playing. I might again hand up. Yes. And right there, I didn't even get to say the drop it because I was busy blabbing, but I marked the moment he let go with my YES. So remember how marking behavior lets your puppy know whatever they just did is why they got their paycheck. So I'm going to have him play again and drop it. Yes. And then feed. So you can do whatever makes sense for you guys. Ready? Go get your bad boy. But I would highly recommend to practice grabbing and letting go of things they can have. So when you want them to let go of something they shouldn't, letting go does not always have to be confrontational or spooky. So if, let's say, one of these things was a slipper as opposed to an actual toy that you didn't want him to have, remember doing a find it. You're not feeding him for grabbing the said off limits item. You're actually feeding him for disengaging, dropping it, and doing a find it instead. So you are redirecting and having him choose a better item to do or option than grabbing for the bad or not appropriate item. So with Mr. Z, this is really pretty. So I want to also dive into a little bit with the treat and retreat game. So let's say, for example, so I'm just going to grab one of the Kongs that I had stuffed with a few chew items inside. Ready? We'll move our toys a little bit out of the way. Here we go. So in this Kong, there's some snacks that I stuffed in. So let's say your babe is enjoying, it rolled under his tummy. Let's say your babe is enjoying a chew item like a Kong or a bone or some sort of item they're licking or gnawing on. They could also be enjoying their food. So if, again, you've already run into some pretty, again, bigger responses to resource guarding, check in before you dive into this exact setup. There's going to be safety protocols to do prior to this. If your dog has already been given moments where they've bitten, where they charge, or if behavior has gotten already much bigger, we have to go a little bit lower and build up again. So let's say my dog is enjoying the Kong, and my neighbors are moving some stuff around, so there's some banging, but I don't think he cares. So the babe is enjoying his thing. He's like, this one I can't break. Some of the liver snacks are too hard to break. So let's say he's enjoying his said chew toy. What I would then end up doing is, this could be a dog's food dish. This could be their lick item. Excuse me, I should not be drinking seltzer. I'm going to approach and I'm going to treat and retreat. So what I am doing, sorry again, is I am going and I'm not trying to make my dog feel uncomfortable by going and taking the item and giving it back. So just like with us as people, if I was about to sit down and have a really amazing meal and some person comes up to me and grabs my dish and gives it back, grabs my dish and gives it back, depending on how hangry I am, I might poke them with my spoon, fork, or knife. No, just kidding. So, but in that situation, I would have a few choice words because they're interrupting my meal. Who the heck are you? Even if it was maybe a family member, I still would not be very happy. So if, for example, you were busy about to have a meal, let's say instead of them just coming and bugging you, before they even come near and interrupt your meal by picking it up, they give you $1,000. So let's say every time they come near, they give you $1,000 for bothering you mid-meal. You're going to be like, okay. You might even put your utensils down, waiting for that amazing paycheck. So with Mr. Z over here, as he's attempting to get the snacks out of the Kong, I might go and walk up or around him and toss a few snacks. So your puppy could be eating their kibble or eating their food in their dish, and you approach, you toss some snacks, and you walk on by. So what you're building up is that when you come to interrupt, good things happen. This way, you would start to build in that you coming near your dog is not a bad thing. So I am not instantly taking it away, nor am I going and saying, let's say, for example, you're about to have dessert and you're going to have a really yummy, let's say, I don't know, brownie sundae something. And let's say I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Here, I've got a really cool surprise for you. And I grab your brownie and I give you like a tortilla chip. You're going to be like, that was really lame. So if, let's say, exchanging for a really high cool thing with an even, let's say, lower value item, that's not going to feel like a great exchange. And exchanges, which kind of work that way, tend to almost seem like a trick. So they're almost fooled into giving up their prize. So I would instead, when my dog is enjoying something of value, do my treat and retreat game. But then on top of that, practice helping your pup leave the said item they're allowed to have and work moving away from the thing for a few reps. So what that's going to look like is, let's say Mr. Z, he's just grabbing the morsels that fell under his armpits because they roll on the bed. So let's say my dog was enjoying the chew. I might go, ready, Zeke? And I might go into a nice find it. So I am not taking the thing away. I'm letting him go grab his delicious little pieces that I plopped on the floor. And then from here, he could go back to his chew and enjoy it once more. If, for example, you really needed him to take a break from, let's say, the chew item or the puzzle toy, and he's really loving it, but you want him to go to the restroom before you have to go grocery shopping or whatever, this is where practicing this game before you need it is really helpful. So let's say, again, now he's back on chewing on his lovely Kong, and he's really interested in it, and he thinks it's kind of cool. I might go again, ready, Zeke? And into another little find it. So now we can get up and wiggle while my dog is doing a couple little find its. If I needed to take the item, I can now take it without creating any conflict. I sometimes even like to take the item and then I reload it with even more bonus bits and then make it cooler than it once was before I had it go away. So here you go. So he can get it back again. But if, let's say, you always do, for example, a find it and you steal the thing, then it's again kind of that trickery moment. You want to view find its in this situation as making it fun to take pauses or breaks and then be able to go back. And maybe on the fifth or sixth little repeat, you might have to take it for another day. Or maybe it's finally empty and you need to go wash it. So you do a nice little find it for the babe. He goes to grab it and then you can take the item and go put it away in the dishwasher or whatever. So, but at no point do we get freezing, whale eye, almost like where he holds his breath as I'm coming closer. So there are a lot of little warning signals to resource guarding. And if we have scolded natural dog responses to anxiety or fear, then we are getting rid of the whisper and going right into shouting. So dogs that are scolded for giving warnings eventually do not give a warning and go right into a bite. So when your dog is enjoying something, I normally just, again, leave the dog alone. When they're eating, leave them alone. When they're enjoying a chew, leave them be. But if there's moments where you are running into some trouble, then practicing how to release, how to give and take items, how to exchange, these are all very important life skills for puppies through adults to have. So like with my guys, they could be mid chewing on something, but if I come near, I can do an exchange or they come and check in because for them, I've never equaled conflict or I'm taking the prize away. Oh my gosh, so tired. You're doing a good job, Mr. Z. He says it's hard being him. It's a rough life he lives. You just relax. You're doing great. Smart boy. So I might toss a few little morsels at him because he's been doing such a good job. But I know today is going to be the last day for the beauties in day school for my rounds. But if you're interested in continuing, Sam does have more doggy day school options on Monday. So her hours are a little different than mine because she doesn't have children. So that's exciting. No offense. Both are great. So don't worry. But there's no schedule restrictions for her other than her own beauty at home, which is her puppy Reno. So for example, hers are from 9:30 to, I believe it's 3:30. Yes. So we can, for example, if you want to keep going, he's like, guys, my harness is tickling. There it is. You found your Kong. But if you want to keep going with a little bit more of the day school, Mondays are an option. Otherwise, we still, of course, will have my structured play, which he comes to on Tuesdays. And then Sam does have longer hours for her Friday play group as well, like my structured play, but hers is on Fridays from 8 to 5. Doesn't mean you have to stay for the full time. If you'd rather do an earlier pickup, you can always just let her know, and that can be arranged. So, but we'll give Mr. Z a break because, again, I made him work really hard and he probably wants to take a siesta, but he did a really nice job.